It's been a long time. Do you think you're ready to try things again? Sometimes this is what we want to hear from our ex after a breakup, especially if it really has been a long time. We want them back because we want that safety and security of the relationship that we had. You know, maybe it's been a long time for us and we've done some thinking. Maybe we were even the one who started the breakup, but we've decided, you know what? I've had time to think about it. I don't like the way I feel right now, and I miss the way that I felt with my ex, and so we want our ex to come back. But do exes come back after a long time? Well, to answer this question, first I want to take us back to when the breakup first happened between you and your ex, because everybody's situation is going to be different, and I can't generalize here, but usually things were not going so great, and that's why you broke up in the first place. There could have been a lot of fighting, there could have been a lot of problems, or it could have been that there was just a repeating pattern of things that just kept coming up. Maybe somebody felt criticized and blamed, maybe somebody was defensive all the time. Generally, breakups are not a good time, and our body reacts to that in very real and very normal ways. Whenever somebody that we've been in an intimate relationship with breaks up with us, we're losing them, and it feels like we're losing them, and our body will generally go into panic/grief. I talk about this a lot because this is a normal experience that we have when we're losing somebody close to us. And even just saying it that way, you know, losing somebody close to us, what does that sound like? It sounds like somebody dying, and that's what it feels like. And although it's been a long time maybe, and you don't remember what that felt like, it's important to think about because we want to contrast what was going on back then with what is going on now. So back then, it was probably normal for you and your ex to both feel panic when the breakup was happening. No matter who decided on breaking up, it's always hard to break up, and we always feel a sense that things are a little on shaky ground during a breakup. Like, we don't know what to expect, and we get a little anxious and we freak out a little bit. Sometimes we freak out a lot. I freaked out a lot. And we also have to take the time to redefine, what does our life look like now? You know, we have to go through that grieving period of losing somebody and feeling the feelings of losing somebody, the sadness and the grief, and moving forward through that, finding the motivation again to feel like living again and living in a new way. That's hard for a lot of us. So one reason that I bring this up is that you or your ex may still actually be going through this. Grieving can take a really long time. I know, you know, it's been 3 years since my breakup with my last ex, and it took me a while. It definitely took me a good year before I started feeling a little bit more stable and like my old self again. And, you know, to this day still, if you were to bring up things about my ex, I still get angry about things. I'm still pissed off, and I'm still not okay with a lot of the way that things went. So I bring this up because depending on the situation with you and your ex, either you may feel this way about your ex and you may not be so sure that you actually even want to have your ex come back. Your ex may also have some grievances and some grudges over the way that things went during the breakup, maybe how things went after the breakup, or things were going on in your relationship that led to the breakup. There's a lot of ugly ways that we can interact with each other in relationships, and so things like cheating, things like maybe lying or hiding financial stuff, or being weird about controlling somebody or criticizing them, all of these different kinds of behaviors, you know, yes, it's in the past, sure, but it can have a lasting effect on us. You know, we still have memories of what happened, and those memories are very often linked to feelings. So when somebody recalls you, if your ex recalls you in their mind, they may also bring back all of this negative stuff. And that could be one major obstacle to why your ex may not want to come back, even though it's been a long time. There's more to consider, though. So another thing to think about here is, have the patterns of the ways that you used to relate to each other changed at all? Like, have you spent time on yourself, working on yourself and working on how you relate to other people, so that whatever was going on in the relationship before, you've got it covered? It's not going to be the same way if you were to get back together again? And on the flip side of things, has your ex done their work on themselves? Do they know their part in things, and do they know how they can fix things to make it so that you can relate in better ways? Usually both of you have something to work on. I know that we tend to think like we did everything perfectly, although that's not true. Some people think they did everything wrong, but it's usually a mixture of both people in a relationship can find something to improve on. And granted, I don't want to minimize anybody here. If you've been through a situation that was very difficult, sometimes one person has more of the blame to take. But what I'm just trying to say here is that both people can make improvements, and what you want to look at is, have you made those improvements? Because nobody really wants to get back into the same relationship that they left. There's usually a reason why you broke up. Something else that you're going to want to consider, especially if you haven't spoken to your ex in a very long time, is what's going on in their lives and what's been going on in your life. Is there a big change that's happened? Have you had a child? Maybe that's a huge change. Have you moved? Have you changed career paths? Do you have new goals and dreams that you didn't have before? These major defining things in our lives, these major defining things about our identities and the ways that we live, they can have really big impacts on a relationship. And so, we may think that the change is a good thing. Maybe it is. Maybe that was the problem in the relationship that actually made you break up. But oftentimes these big changes also mean we have to reconsider how we relate to somebody else and whether or not that relationship is actually going to be a good fit or not. For example, if your ex has moved to another country, they may not want to move back to be together with you. Or if you have started a job that gives you a lot of flexibility and now your ex wants you to be home at a certain time and doing certain things in a certain way, maybe you're not able to give that to them because you need to be flexible and open for your clients. These different life changes have impacts on how we live. And when we live with somebody, even if we don't live physically in the same space, when we're sharing our lives and our emotions and our daily stuff with somebody, they have to manage that along with us. It's not a one person thing. Something else that you're going to have to consider is, does your ex have somebody else in their lives that they're interested in? Are they actually seeing somebody? If they've gotten married, it's probably not a great idea to try to put yourself back into their lives. Respect that boundary, respect that they've made that commitment to that person, and find somebody else. But even if they haven't, are they on the market? Maybe they're living the single life and that's all that they want. Maybe they are not interested in a relationship at all. Maybe this isn't the right time, as I mentioned, with the life changes for them to be in a relationship. So especially if you haven't spoken to them in a long time, slowly put your foot in the door to learn what is going on with your ex and what's happening in their lives, because even though it's something that you may want, it may not be the right time for them. And this would be a good time to mention that you really shouldn't just go jumping back into things exactly the way that they were. I know that's really tempting and really easy for people to kind of slip and slide right back into, because we already have those pre-existing feelings that, and those positive memories that we had in the relationship previously. But when we go to jump in like that, we're not really respecting boundaries the way that a relationship should form. I know that we are familiar with each other, but a relationship should develop slowly over time, and you should negotiate how things are going to go. You do have the advantage of knowing your general habits, what your ex is generally like. And I would say that you could probably get into a relationship a little bit faster if you're deciding to try it again. But I would very much caution that you should start off as friends, just like if you were dating anybody else, because you and your ex have probably changed if it's been a long time. And although you do know many things about their personalities can change, and people can have new life experiences that change how they see things. So starting off slowly, starting off as a friendship is probably the best way to go. And maybe that's where you both want to stop it. Maybe you spend time together as friends and realize, you know what, I don't think this is really going to work out. And that can still be a great thing. But as I mentioned, you do have one good thing going for you if you want to see if your ex is going to get back together with you. And that is that you have these positive memories. And usually after some time apart, after you've spent a long time not together with your ex, even if you've been like friends with them and like hanging out and stuff, as time goes on, this is just what happens in our lives. Usually when time passes, we look backwards at things. And you can do this for yourself. Think about something that was happening 10 years ago that was positive in your life, that maybe went sour, but at one point it was positive. And how would you think about it? Generally, and I know this isn't going to be the case for everybody, but generally, you're going to remember more positive feelings. You're going to remember more of the positive memories, and we usually look backwards on the past as though it was a better time than today, because we're comparing today to then, and right now we want something that we don't have, so we look backwards and we think, oh, if it was only like it used to be, but we forget it used to be not so great. Like, that's why we broke up in the first place. But this works to your advantage, because if your ex does feel like maybe they want to get back together with you after a long time, they have these positive memories that maybe look a little bit more appealing now that there's been some distance between the time when you broke up and today. I know the only reason why you even clicked on something like this was because you were interested in learning about your ex and whether it was a possibility, because you probably have a little bit of hope that it is a possibility, and I understand that, and that's totally a normal feeling, and I think we all want to feel love in our lives, and we, just like I mentioned, we'll go backwards to the last time we experienced it. And you may have went backwards and thought about your ex, forgetting about all the bad crap that went on in the relationship. I do want to remind you, though, that your ex is not the only person out there. And I know if you're somebody who has been on the dating apps and who has gone out on dates and just has been out there, you're like, oh, this is terrible. Because there's a lot of people out there, let's be honest, who don't know how to relate to other people, who never even considered it, who have bad empathy skills, who are not good at relating, who are bad at communicating. Maybe they just don't share our interests. Like, there's a million reasons why other people are not matched to us, and that's okay. But I want to remind you that there are people who will be matched to you other than your ex, and even if it takes years, there are people out there. Think about the time between, and you may not have personal experience with this, but if you do, think about the time between your ex and the one before and the one before. Now, if you're a serial monogamist, maybe this is not a good thought exercise for you, but some of you will know what I'm talking about, that you can have stretches of time between dating where it takes a long time before you find somebody else who might match you. And maybe if you are young, maybe somebody can comment down below and let everybody know that, yes, there are periods in your life when sometimes you're just single, and that's the way it goes. And you learn to be single and you learn to be happy on your own, and eventually somebody will come back into your life. So if you have a story like that, please share that down below in the comments for some of the younger folk who maybe haven't had as much time living to experience that. But that is what happens. Sometimes we just have to wait and other people will come into our lives. So I just want to caution you to not get caught up on your ex as though your ex is the only person for you and the only person who can give you those things that you want, because you can get them from other people, and you can maybe even get them in a healthier and happier relationship. So what do you think? Do you think that your ex wants to come back after this long time? Let me know down below in the comments.